NFL Week 6 is over, and before we look at some waiver wire pickups for our fantasy football rosters, Ed, it's time to celebrate ourselves, some fantasy heroes and some zeros.
Fantasy Heroes.
Patrick doesn't need SpongeBob or Squidward, he's doing it all on his own. Mahomes is QB1 for the season and ready to regain his fantasy crown.
OMG, JSN had another WR1 week, and FYI, he is WR2 on the season. Yes, he's only going to get better.
Opponents of Rico Down had better buckle up, because it's going to be a rough ride for them if he rushes for 200 yards every week.
Will you have a butchers at London, me old China? Drake had the Bills' defence in his skyrocket for WR1 on the week.
JR, Bobby and Sue Ellen will all be delighted as Dallas Goddard was one of the bright stars for the Eagles in a chastening loss to the Giants.
Whether it's his good looks or fancy prowess, I get a little frisson whenever I think of Bijan. And who's to say Robinson won't dethrone Saquon as RB1 2025?
Nailed it again. Time though, Ed. Let's get stuck into our favourite part of the week, Fantasy Zeros.
Fantasy Zeros.
Dobbins was Bobbins in week 6 with 14 rush attempts for only 40 yards.
Allen wasn't the key to the Chargers' offense this week, managed just 27 yards from his 7 targets.
Cooper was in a rush to get benched and was saved from further humiliation after finishing with minus points.
Stevenson continues his Jekyll and Hyde season as he turned 13 attempts into just 18 yards this week. What a strange case.
Vaughn looked to right Johnson as he fumbled his way to only 0.5 fantasy points.
Justin Fields, it's London calling. You're on the TH Fantasy Football Zeros list this week. Justin? Sounds like he's been sacked again.
I think that's quite possible, Mark. He did get sacked a lot.
We went to the London games. We watched Justin Fields in the flesh, and it was underwhelming.
Yeah, I felt for him. I mean, you've got to give him the fact that the O-line was pretty porous, but goodness me, I don't think he got one throw in the right place all game. It looked pretty desperate for him, didn't it?
It certainly did. As we are recording, though, a little bit later than normal, Ed, we're going to have a look at our fancy talking points for week 6. So no games of the week this week. Just have a look at other notables. And obviously the week started off in shirt-ripping fashion. Cam Scatterbo and Jackson Dart, they love a soundbite. What was it? 6 and 44 in the trap. I don't know what the trap is.
No,
they're there.
Really know what he
they're
was
there.
about.
And my goodness, Cam Scatterby was very happy to be there. Doesn't it look exciting? For the first time in recent memory, it looks exciting to be a Giants fan. And the Giants are relevant fantasy football once again. The Eagles have gone from being a fantasy football just feeding ground that we've seen over the last couple of years to a bit confusing. So AJ Brown got 14 points, and you'll be quite happy with what we've had over the previous few weeks. His second highest score on the season, and he sits as wide receiver 35. Them's the big points. Devon Smith only got you 8.9. He's currently wide receiver 30. Surely they are the most disappointing wide receiver duo so far, when preseason they were in the mix for the best wide receiver duo, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd say Higgins has been disappointing, but Chase has come good the last couple of weeks, hasn't he, for the Bengals? But yeah, those two, especially AJ Brown, you've drafted him as your wide receiver 1, and he is currently pretty toilet.
Some things remain irrationally on my radar, whether it be 0 numbers on jerseys or Taysom Hill being Taysom Hill. So fancy Gremlin watch. Taysom Hill got 1 carry for 1 yard and 1 touchdown. What a waste of 6 points.
He is a gremlin.
He genuinely couldn't care less. He's got a touchdown. That's knowing his contract. That's probably just secured him another $500,000 or something. Derrick Henry was a bench option for me this week, and he made it worth ignoring with his 14 points. Once again, not what you wanted. Not benchable in the end, but still not what you want from the king. But there's another running back who is doing big things this last couple of weeks over in Carolina.
I mean, I'm sure the thing that means most to him is that he has been back-to-back hero on the TH Fans football show. But yeah,
You're
Rico
welcome, Rico Dowdle.
yeah, Rico Dowd, another big week. RB1 and the number one overall fantasy player for a couple of weeks now. Although I think Bijan probably
Bijan did overtake last night after I'd written these, but yeah.
Overtake him. So he's also only the sixth player in the Super Bowl era to register 225 plus total yards and a touchdown in consecutive games. The last two, 2020, Dalvin Cook, and 2014, Le'Veon Bell. So decent company to be in there. Josh Jacobs, we said he would have a mega week, and he had a mega week. 150 total yards and a couple of touchdowns. I know I captained him in a couple of DFS lineups, and I'm sure many of you did as well. George Pickens. Now, we've not been his biggest fan in the past, but he's very much living the dream in Dallas. Very slow start to his career in Pittsburgh. 6 games in Dallas, he's got 6 touchdowns. His previous high over a whole season was 5 in 2023. Of course, he's been helped by CD Lamb being out, but he stepped up to the mark and looked very impressive doing it. Bit too cocky for my liking, but I'll let him enjoy it. Patrick Mahomes, now a hero again this week. I think it's his second time as a hero this year. He's been a fancy disappointment the last couple of years, and I think people were readjusting their kind of expectations when it came to Patrick Mahomes. But he's currently QB1. Yes, Lamar's been out for a couple of weeks, but he's ahead of Josh Allen as well. And he's comfortably on pace for his biggest rushing year to date. He's on pace for 600 plus rushing yards, which is, Lamar, Josh Allen numbers almost. And a Bijan and London mega week at the same time. We haven't had many of those. In a week where Penix only got 14.6 points and QB 20, doesn't really make sense. But maybe they can do it without a top quarterback. They certainly did this week.
No touchdown for 2 weeks in a row for James Cook. The touchdown regression is here. Yay, we were right. And in other news, Lad McConkey's in a 2-week touchdown run and finally got a top 12 week. Yay, Lad McConkey. So I
think that was the thing you got most excited about in the car journey on the way home was the Lad McConkey.
Oh, so happy. Yeah. I love a Lad McConkey touchdown. And then finally, this is something from the Monday night games. Just it's interesting to watch. It's always curious when you see slight adjustments in what teams are doing after the bye week. And it was a really even spread of targets for Chicago wide receivers this week. So Burton had 4, Moore and Adunze both had 5, Zacchaeus had 6. So it's interesting to see that even spread post-bye. And it's just something to watch moving forwards. I think if we see that again next week, then we know that is very much a deliberate choice to be spreading the ball all over. If it goes back to being very much the Rome Odunze show next week, then we know that this is just how the game script went yesterday. Before we move on then, please do take a moment to give us a like, a subscribe, and a share. We've got this review show for you, the preview coming out tomorrow, and then our streaming options show and DFS as well. Ed, for the injury report this week, we've said it's kind of been weird. We seem to have had positional thematic injuries week by week. We had the tight end injuries, then we had quarterbacks. We had a bit of a couple of running backs out the other week. And this was the week of wide receivers. Mm-hmm. So Emma Craig Booker is almost friend of the show, the amount we mention him. MRI is due at the time of recording. Left the first half with a hamstring injury, so that is one to watch. Calvin Ridley also picked up a hamstring injury, so he's going to be one to monitor over the course of the week. Usually wide receivers and hamstrings, you're looking a week or 2. Puka Nacua has an ankle sprain, so he could miss some time. He did return in the Ravens game. It's probably because it was quite an easy walk in the park against the Ravens secondary there. It was worth him stretching it off. Marvin Harrison left with a concussion. They're always ones to monitor because it can turn around quite quickly or it can linger and end up missing a week. And then Garrett Wilson set to miss a couple of weeks after a knee injury in London. I think actually Garrett Wilson He's just sick of putting up with Justin Fields' nonsense and wants nothing to
spent
do
the
with
whole
it for a bit.
game looking moody and miserable and not at all happy with the whole situation.
Well, it must be quite annoying having the ball fly in your general direction at various points. Anthony Richardson, my favorite. This is my favorite injury. So inactive for week 6 due to an eye injury during a band workout, and he's now set to miss time because of an injury to his orbital socket. I'm assuming by band workout it's resistance bands. I'm imagining it's like twanged him in the face. Anthony Richardson.
Oh, I thought it was like Bandcamp style, like twirling.
No. He didn't take a flute to the eye. No. He's fast becoming quite an unfortunate comedy of just, I don't know. He's almost like a sitcom quarterback at this point in time, isn't he?
Yeah, it's not gone well for Anthony, has it? He's certainly, I don't think anyone really predicted what would happen with Danny Dimes, but yeah, he's very much backup quarterback in Indianapolis at the moment, isn't he?
Amar in Hampton, since our last record, is now confirmed to be out for 4 weeks. Plus, Brock Bowers unlikely to return in week 7. Bucky Irving unlikely to practice this week. Chris Godwin still unlikely to practice this week and is confirmed out for week 7 already. And finally, Brandon Ayuk, still no date for his return. So we are getting, Ed, to not quite the dregs of the waiver wire, but where the appealing options are reasonably highly rostered and the names lower down are not always appealing, but sometimes do just enough at this time of season to get you a win. So who are we looking at on our waiver wire for week 7?
Yeah, as you might expect, a lot of these waiver wire pickups are linked directly to some of the injuries you've just mentioned, none more so than Kimani Vidal, running back at the Chargers, 46% rostered. So you've got kind of a 50-50 chance that he's available. Now, with Hampton out, Vidal looks to be the clear RB1 for the Chargers. He made hay against the Dolphins with nearly 140 yards from scrimmage and that receiving touchdown. He has got a tougher matchup against the Colts this week, who ranked top 10 against the run, but he's got no competition at running back, and he will be the clear RB1 for the next 4 weeks. So definitely someone to look at picking up and to see if he's available and investing a bit of fab in. Now, the next two are very much linked. The Bucks, I mean, to say they're banged up on offense is the understatement. Evans out, Godwin out, Jalen McMillan out, Bucky Irving out, and now Egbuka. All injured, all likely to miss time. So Baker, who is very good at the moment, needs someone to throw to. And they're down to the bare bones at receiver. Sterling Shepard is one option, 23% rostered. And another option, Cameron Johnson, who steps up, he's 0% rostered. So he's very likely to be available. They'll both get targets. It's just what they do with them. And they've got the Lions and the Saints to come in the next couple of weeks of the Bucks, who are pretty favourable matchups for quarterbacks and wide receivers. So either of those could be quite a canny pickup, especially with the kind of buys on the horizon over the next couple of weeks.
Sterling Shepard has been so off radar in Tampa Bay, I couldn't find a decent resolution image of him in a Bucks jersey.
Yes, that's him in his Giants jersey, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how little he's done. And purely because of what Baker Mayfield is doing at the minute, I imagine there'll be some much more high quality images of him catching a ball in a Buccaneers uniform next week.
Yeah, I just think the way Baker's playing behind that O-line, whoever's catching the ball or attempts to catch the ball is going to make hay. So either of those are an option. Moving on to someone that we've spoken about before at tight end is Harold Fanning, 49% rostered. He was busy against the Steelers this week, holding 7 of 10 for 81 yards from Dylan Gabriel. He continues to share that workload with David Njoku, but I think he's a fairly reliable option at tight end. 4 out of 6 weeks have been in double figures. He's tight end 12 overall. So there are only 11 tight ends doing better than him. And the Dolphins this week is a very favourable matchup. So Njoku and Fanning could potentially have solid weeks. So I think he's one that should be higher rostered than he is because he looks to be consistent. You mentioned Brock Bowers. So Michael Mayer, 6% rostered. Solid score this week. Geno Smith targeted him 7 times in Brock Bowers' absence, and he got his first fantasy relevant week of the season. With Bowers likely to miss at least one more week, Meyer's going to be a decent option. Against the Chiefs this week, who give up some points to tight ends, but, it's not a home run when it comes to points. But he should get you something if you're in need. And we have to mention Bam Knight. Great name, fantastic name, Bam Knight. 80% rostered, the running back at the Cardinals. Now, it clearly looks like Amari DiMercado isn't going to get any work, so cut your losses if you wasted some fab on him. But Knight looks like he's going to share the workload with Michael Carter. He certainly did this week, and they both look good for 10 carries a game, but they're both probably flex plays at best because they are going to share the workload, and they're probably touchdown dependent. So, don't go crazy with your fab, but Bam Knight might be someone to slot into a flex spot if you're in need.
And he ticks the most important TH transfer boxes. He's got a banger of a name.
Oh, I'd love him to be a hero or a zero one week. We can do all sorts with that name.
I think we'll mainly just say Bam quite loud.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, that is all from our shorter show this week as we're recording a day later. We'll be back with you tomorrow for our Week 7 preview. That's all I've got to say, unless you've got anything you'd like to add. Anything, Edward?
No. Did you not see that? I thought you'd ended the show because subscribe, like, and share came up.
Oh, no, I just thought I thought I'd seamlessly add it in over you talking. It worked really well.
I missed that seamless thing. No, I'll just call the taxi. Malcolm, take us home.
You have been listening to the team from TH Fantasy Football. For more content, follow TH_fantasy_NFL on Twitter and Instagram.